Talking change, talking all that's real, with Francis Pierre at the wheel. Politics to faith, the latest trend. We talk it out from end to end. And if you've got something to share, pick up the phone, turn it up, Real FM, ride the frequency. Talking truth, talking change, talking all that's real, with Francis Pierre at the wheel.
Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. We're back to our program again on target. Remember, we are 91.9, 91.5, 94.9 Brooklyn, New York. And you can put us on any other area of the social media that you are on. You just have to like, subscribe, and share. And this was a long holiday, a long weekend rather, a long weekend. And for some religious organization, the Catholics, it marked the beginning of the Catholic Church, the birthday of the church. Pentecost is a liturgical feast that marks the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles and other followers of Jesus Christ. Pentecost principally means 50 days after Easter. At that time, the disciples was afraid, they were scared, they were not able to come out. But once Pentecost day reached and they received the Holy Spirit, they were on fire. They lose all fear. The public ministry began. And that was the beginning of Christianity, the beginning of the church, over 2,000 years ago. So the Catholics always celebrate. It's a solemn feast. It is the beginning of the public ministry of Jesus Christ by the apostles. It was no easy time for the church then, because you had all but one apostle being martyred. Only John that was not martyred. He was born with hot oil and he grew. He remained to old age and they had to bring him. Couldn't walk to function easily. They had to bring him around to preach. So it was a significant period for Catholics. And then following Pentecost on a Monday, you had a number of Catholic church having harvests all around the island. I participated in the one in Grenville, St. Andrew Parish. So that was one of the events that was responsible for the holiday, And I always believe we should know why we do what we do. Too much times you ask people what this holiday is about and they don't know. So we must know why we do what we do. That was one aspect. In the international community, you know that war continues with no abate. The issue between Russia and Ukraine seems to be escalating, increasing in intensity. Ukraine claimed that they have the Chinese soldiers fighting on Russia's side. So there's a lot of claims and counterclaims, and you sometimes not absolutely certain what the truth is. Sometimes you have to wait a while to know whether what is being portrayed or played on social media or the information that is given out, whether it is true. I think now people are convinced that Russia had North Korean troops. And now they're claiming that Chinese. So that means the war is expanding. People are getting more involved. And we in the Caribbean here, I always believe that the Caribbean and Africa miss an opportunity to clamor for peace. You don't have to jump in this imperial powers and take side. Perhaps the Caribbean and Africa and even Latin America should be a big broker for peace, encouraging the sides to come on the table and negotiate a peace. Ukraine is a sovereign country, so I can't support Russia. Ukraine is a sovereign country. If you supporting Russia, then you could support perhaps Trinidad to overrun you. So there are certain things we have to be consistent with. But in Grenada here, we have our own trials and tribulations. Although some of the things that happen in the international community would affect us down here. Ukraine and Russia are powerful suppliers of wheat in the world. So if they're at war, obviously it could affect the upward price. And more the war escalates, more likely it is to affect prices in Grenada and increases the possibility of nuclear war. Because Russia been taking some licking from Ukraine. I don't think Ukraine could beat Russia, but I don't believe Russia could conquer Ukraine either. So it means at some stage, if some form of peace is not made, we could have the use of nuclear war, because Russia would be reduced to just a big army with nuclear weapon and not an imperial and not a superpower. I think a lot of people now must be having second guess at Russia not so powerful as they claim they would be. And we in Grenada here have issues that I always believe that people must stand up for. We must be consistent in our position. It cannot be yes, no, and no next time. Yes is yes, no is no. We must take certain position. I am not satisfied that the government of Grenada is providing enough and timely information on some issues in the country. We well aware that the government had a policy that information is made based upon need to know. I thought that was very arrogant and very insulting and unacceptable. But I'm practically disturbed by a number of people in Grenada, their readiness, their willingness to accept the government policy. First in mind is the journalists. The journalists should be up in arms against a government having a policy about need to know. When you recently in the previous government, I think they made a genuine attempt to provide information for people in a timely manner. Why do I say that? They had press conferences after every cabinet meeting. In addition to that, they had individual ministers not being afraid to answer questions to journalists. So to move from that point, that liberal attitude of the government to provide information, to have a government telling you no, that information is based upon need to know, when there are so much of worrying signs in the country, it is frightening. Because that's the manner you could monitor government. When you hear rumor or speculation, You ask questions to verify the truth. So it's significant. And in the democratic process, the press is very important. We are very fortunate today that we don't have only what we call recognized journalists. We have a lot of social media personalities. People like me, who have absolutely no training in press, does not consider myself as any journalist, but is not afraid to face the technology. I think the biggest challenge for me is the technology. Coming from the old school, the biggest challenge is the technology. But with some assistance, I'm able to function and ask questions. And there is no limit to who or what questions I ask. But there are some issues the government must answer on. And not the government alone, political leaders. In Grenada today, we have Dick Mitchell of the NDC. We have Pierre of the NNP. We have Peter David of the movement. And I understand we have Lacrette. I don't know what his party name is. We must ask these leaders questions. And those leaders, we must believe that they're making a reasonable attempt to answer the questions. Or sometimes people avoid personal questions, but we must ask them questions. They lead a political party. Ralph Gonzalez, yes, scholar, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar, welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. I told you was to listen to Jenny's program. Did you went back and listen to the program? You have time.
I'm not hearing you yet. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Pierre, I don't know what he's going to do with Andy, you know. Mr. Williams. Because during that conference, Jenny asked him questions. He tell her, look him in the eye and looking in your eye to tell you these things are false. And if young children want to get into politics, this kind of rumors what to get in and with, you're going to make them afraid to come in politics? And looking in your eyes and say that's false. Jenny had her program on Friday. Jenny come back with the same question. Jenny said, I'm speaking to you, Andy Williams. If I am talking false, I want you to sue me. He go on all the platform, the entities that those platform, NDC, whatever. And they ask him question. And it still hold his point that that is false. Where are we going? Telling Jenny, saying that she could stop young people who want to be involved in politics. Jenny said on Friday, if I'm going to stop the young people in being in politics, that means the young people is just like you. She called it out again and she said, speaking to you, Andy Williams, I want you to sue me for what I say, what is false on it. So I don't know, Mr. Pierre.
Maybe we got to wait and see. You have some things you have to have patience in. Right?
Mr. Pierre, Jenny hosts that program and she's speaking about this one point about a whole year now.
Well, you have to understand that sometimes things don't happen overnight. I don't know if you're following PDD or Bad Boy Records or Puff Daddy situation in America. Are you following it up to any extent?
No, not
right.
much.
So sometimes I always tell people it's good to follow up some things. When you hear sometimes smoke don't come out without fire. And people have to be careful But we must ask questions. You see, the government is not giving information. And the government have the attitude, or they say better to stay quiet, and nobody wouldn't bother with them that talking. So somewhere in the Bible, they gave a story about a woman that wanted justice, and she would not leave the door of the judge or whoever. And he got fed up with her. So he held her case. So sometimes you have to be persistent. Slavery went on for almost 200 years or more. And sometimes we have to have patience in politics. And continue to ask the questions. And maybe they may get fed up a day and answers, or maybe we might find more compelling evidence. So take time.
And Mr. Pierre, what is so baffling? The people calling Andy and say doing wonderful job, you is the best, you is the this.
Well, yes, but remember, you have to remember, but you have to also acknowledge the point that when NDC came in power, the first thing they did, one of the first things they did was to provide a tax break for people who pay tax. And one of the second thing they did was to remove $150 from the elderly. They take out money from the physically challenged, and even disadvantaged children wasn't spared. You have to remember a number of people in Grenada now is getting big contract. You also have to be mindful that the NDC have increased the income of some of the members by almost 300%. And then you have all sorts of contract going on. Then you have to remember that 50 million, I think, was assigned. I don't think assigned is a white word. Budgeted, provided for the 50th celebration. You have to remember that the NDC received 100 million from Saudi Arabia, 180 million from the insurance that covered burial. You have to remember that they meet over 500 million in the treasury and over $1 billion from selling passports. So money is not a problem. You also have to be cognizant of the fact that deacon believe in paying money to get good relationship. We had what Ron said. He got a gracious offer. And the information we have is $100,000. We had number 10 jumping ship for 160. So big money is passing. So some people in Grenada have pie on the plate. So don't be surprised when people defend Andy.
But when was Dr. Kit?
Well, you have to understand that. You see,
every movie makes
but
about his
that is one of the problems, the challenges of NNP. NNP expect NDC to be the one praising Dr. Mitchell. NNP had to praise Dr. Mitchell. You don't expect NDC to be praising your leaders. I mean, come on. You are the one. You are a political party that win election on 3 occasions and won all the seats. You have to be blowing your trumpet, not NDC. Yes, caller. Thank you.
All right, sir. Okay. Bye.
Yes, I think that's one of the big problems I find with NNP supporters. They constantly claiming nobody is saying nothing. Well, we on the radio objecting and pointing out that. And as a result of our objection on the radio, NDC have restrained some of their actions. So we know that the role we are playing is justified. We have stood the consequences. Jenny had Jones intimidating her. Andre in the North was seriously affected. Well, I wasn't affected because nobody takes me seriously. But a number of other people were affected. So you can't say nobody not speaking out. We are speaking out. We're not only speaking out, We daring and challenging them. I am not encouraging nobody to sue me because I'm financially embarrassed. But we dare people to take us on where the truth is concerned. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hi, morning, Mr. Pierre. How are you doing?
Great, man.
You seems to be a person who loves discussions, eh?
I love that. I believe that's one of the ways we could settle issues by
Right.
discussing issues.
Well, same here. Now, I've heard a lot of things. I've heard you said a lot. But within the same breath of reasoning, wouldn't you say a party who've been in power for all those years should accomplish much more than what the NNC have accomplished and put things in place? We always boast and say Dr. Keith is a visionary leader. But yet, this government who's just come in power, almost 3 years, the amount of work which they've done is astronomical.
Give me some assistance.
Any other government, the only person who can boast of that is the revolution years ago. Right? And we have to be honest. Are you there, Mr. Pierre?
I listen to you. Yeah.
Right, and we have to be honest. It's one thing to score political points, and it's one thing to be honest and factual with one statement. It's okay to vie for your party. It's okay to be loyal, but it's also important to be factual. There is no perfection in any party, for sure. But there is one thing that anybody could: the increase in salary. We see the pension receive what they receive. We've seen even places like in St. David's who've never had pipe-borne water for years, places that are pursuit. The Prime Minister being there. You've seen some of the increase in the money they get in. You've seen programs for the youth to empower themselves with information. Not just about handing out, but empowering people so they can have the information, so they can guard themselves and elevate themselves to a higher level. You talking about a government who had over 21 years, and some of the people, they're claiming to be visionaries and they're claiming to be bright. No, I don't want you to forget them. That the guys that they claim are little children, and even the former Prime Minister described them as babies in pampers, and they cannot do this and they cannot do that. But yet, look at the amount of work that they're doing. I mean, history show for itself. Records are there. You cannot deny records. You and I cannot deny records. The facts are there. The facts are there. It's very, very clear that this present administration in less than 3 years done a lot of work.
Yes,
and you know the amazing thing? You know the amazing thing what you have to give them praise for? So might be projects and certain things that happen, and we have to understand government is a continuum. So they grab it and they run with it and they implement it. This should be
Color, they don't implement it, they continue the project.
Well, you know what? I could also accept correction, but the main thing is they get the job done, and the job is being done.
Color, I've just said to the previous person before that some people is justified in praising and want to keep NDC in power, and I list some reasons why. If you got millions of dollars in tax break and you receive contract and etc., why would want the government fail? But how do you praise the government for considering people as classless commoners and beggy? How do you praise the government for saying that the only reason the others are getting is because we don't know who the real NDC is, and that is against the background while people was accusing them for victimization? How do you praise the government for breaking the law and taking money from the Grenada Development Bank and giving it to ministers, directors of the bank? How do you praise the government for the corruption that's going on in?
Mr. Pierre, with due respect to you, I have heard any one of you for the last 3 years give the former administration any blame for the state that Grenada is in. I haven't heard you or any one of the hosts say, you know what? Grenada should be much more advanced than how it is today. I haven't heard you and your administration implementing to advance the youth at a higher stage. But yes, I'm hearing people now who have all the advice and who have the know-how after they've been out of power.
If you've been,
find that is amazing?
If you've been listening to me, I've said repeatedly that Grenada is second to none, comparable with the best and better than most in the Caribbean. And I gave and I said that repeatedly.
That's a vague statement. Can you expound on that?
Electricity,
a little bit more.
Electricity, telephone, water, and internet in Grenada is second to none. We have one of the best network of roads in the Caribbean, and the quality of the roads is relatively good. We have the most land owners in the region. We have most discretionary income in the education system.
Do we have system and education system? Who've been in power over the years? Who should make it even be better, much better than how it is today? Yeah. I'm asking you. You are the host. You are the host.
I constantly hear the issue.
You see, the reason why I'm telling you that is because, let's put things into perspective. You have an administration who's been in power for the last 20-something years. Now you're talking about the youth and the different...
that is not a true statement.
That is a very profound true statement.
For the last...
You know for a fact that the former Prime Minister, the MPs now who are doing brilliant, all kind of names. That's a fact. You cannot deny that.
You see how we start up this conversation good. I give you a chance to talk, and then when I speak, you're asking questions and you don't stop it.
Of course, we're having a conversation.
Well, yes,
it's a conversation we having.
So how do you...
Factual conversation.
Do you want me to compliment the government for calling people classless and commoners, color?
I want you to compliment the government for the job that they've been doing for the last 3 years.
In the same color, I would walk over you as if it was a worm if you call me those names. We went to school, color. We went to school. And if you utter those words to us, we will walk over you as if it was a worm. 50 years after independence, you have a prime minister in a country considering people as classless, commoners, and beggy. That is enough justification to throw the prime minister out.
For 20-something years in office, and you left Grenada at that state, and certain things have not yet put in place.
What would you have liked to see done in Grenada? That was not
a whole lot of things.
Give me 5 things.
The education system should have been revamped.
What you want to see done?
For example, hold on. You tell me, let me talk. Hold on. The education should have been revamped. For example, small things as in school. For example, woodwork in school, make it a priority. Music in school, make it primary school go up. Things as culture, teaching the culture, make it a priority, go up. Right? Things as sending people, right, to universities and so on to learn simple things like boat building, engine repairs. These things should have been prioritized over the years. Right? And I could just keep going. I could talk for the next 5 hours.
You see, that's the challenge. That's it.
Who's been there? The people who've been there, they're the one that instituted it. But now we're talking about young, innovative leaders with vision and insight for Grenada. You should be praising them, sir.
All right. Thank you. How could you praise the Prime Minister of Grenada for being a vulture? How do you praise a Prime Minister in Grenada for flaunting the laws in the bank that was placed since 1973 and giving money to members of his cabinet and directors of the bank because the Prime Minister policy is to pay money for good relationship? How do you praise a prime minister for not living in the house provided for him and squandering government money to rent? How do you praise a prime minister for flying all over the world as if he's a hostess? How do you praise a prime minister for having a sugar daddy and running around with a cameraman taking out picture? How do you praise a prime minister for emasculating Joseph Andal? How do you praise a prime minister for that? Now tell me, yes, the prime minister provided tax help by giving them a tax break. That is good for the person paying tax. But how does it benefit the elderly that he took money from? The prime minister is poor people terrorists. You don't praise the prime minister for that. Unless you are benefiting significantly from the government. Yes, caller. Welcome.
Hi. Pleasant day to
Yes, my brother. Go right ahead. Yeah.
all your listeners. And it was nice hearing that caller. I think the caller has set the stage for some
Interesting.
very good discussion. I don't think he should be slighted. That is the type of discussion that I'd like to hear. Um, Let me say to the caller, I know they love to talk about its PRG, and I heard him saying, repeating that foolishness that they kind of say nothing was done since the PRG. When the PRG got out of power, only about 10% of Grenada had electricity. We had standpipes throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. We had a telephone system that was inadequate. When you had to make a call overseas, you had to stand by the phone for 4 hours and do so. I don't think the PRG is a good the PRG is a good reference. The PRG came in and they saw the plans for the airport. The lands were bought, and yes, they implemented what the GLP had in place to build that airport. Yes, they made some strides in the way of health, sending some of our young people to Cuba to study. Some of them very poor people. Yes, that was a good thing. Over 3,000 Grenadians was in prison without a charge, without a trial. Our civil liberty was curtailed to the point where we couldn't sneeze. And I'll stop there on the PRG. Now, this brother continued to say that our government was in office for 23 years and nothing was done. That again is total nonsense. If you look at Grenada the way it was after the intervention, you would see a transformation of Grenada. He talked about aptitude. Michael Andrew represented for the NDC represented St. David's in government for 10 years. Michael Lett represented St. David's in government for another 10 years. The NDC was in power from 1990 to 95. No water in aptitude. They represented Grenada from 2008 to 2013. Still no water in aptitude. So, my brother, you cannot lay the blame on just one government. There was so much infrastructural and other work to be done in Grenada, and a lot more to be done. A lot of things was left out. And let me just give the brother a little example. I represented St. Andrews Southwest. There was a place called Guapo that never had water at all. I didn't blame no one. I mobilized the people and I led the fight. I rolled up my sleeves and I said, let's build a dam. We went to Nawasa, we get permission, and we built a dam there for over 3 million gallons of water. Now, where Nawasa said it was not possible, we made it possible. So representatives have a lot to do with the neglect of the constituencies. So I would leave that and that with that. He bragged about how much this government has done in 3 years. And let us analyze that. The state of healthcare. The Honorable Minister Telesford told the nation that he cannot say that the health has improved. He said the health situation have gotten worse under their watch. The state of agriculture. The World Bank gave Grenada $27 million for the development of livestock. The government went out and they bought 463 hybrid animals at a cost of $10,000 for a piglet. They brought in some hybrid goats. We are hearing now that some of the goats are trembling, they're dying. The government now importing grass to feed these animals. We had a case of the marketing board. And that was the nucleus of the agriculture sector. What did we hear from the Prime Minister? We must plant black pepper. And he would provide trucks to go around picking fruits and vegetables for the farmers. He promised to loan farmers money to buy trucks with solar panels as a replacement for a marketing board. And my dear brother, the cost of living under this government has skyrocketed. This government has not a clue as to what's taking place in the world or in Grenada. In the last 3 years, this Prime Minister has spent 99% of his time as Prime Minister outside of Grenada. And he left it in the hands of Andy Williams. And speaking of Andy Williams, you know, I heard a lady call early on the program, and she made mention of what Jenny Simon have said. And Andy Williams responds. He said it is unfortunate because the accusations against him would cause young people not to get involved in politics. He went on to say that he had nothing to do with the signing of the contract. All of this misleading to the Grenadian people. Politicians don't sign contracts, but under this government, the ministers negotiate the contract. The ministers determine who gets the contract. As a matter of fact, It was so glaring. They interfered with the tenders board and they upped the amount from $10,000 small contracts to 100,000. So what they're doing, they're giving out several 100,000 contracts to their friends. So Andy Williams have to come back and explain to the Grenadian people why he went into government broke, bankrupt. He left a series of debts around the country, bad checks, owing lots of people, and he went and he got a bailout from Grenada Development Bank. And he offered a piece of property in Mount Manassas as security. Lo and behold, he was given back that security. He turned around and sold the property. So today, if Andy Williams is out of government and cannot pay back the unsecured loans that he have presently with GDB, the people of Grenada have to eat it. So when he's talking this nonsense about an accusation against him will deter young people from getting into politics, he himself is a deterrent to young people getting involved in politics. Because clearly his actions indicate that he's in it for himself. The charter of the GDB Bank said that ministers should not be allowed to take loans from GDB because it is conflict of interest. You appoint the directors, you appoint the managers. What do you expect them to do when you go for a loan? So this blowing of the trumpet and talking this nonsense about the contract was not under his ministry. Again, it's an attempt to mislead the Grenadian people. Andy Williams have served as Prime Minister longer than Deacon Mitchell have served as Prime Minister. The Ministry of Infrastructure falls directly under Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell. So when he's absent from the country, Andy Williams is the one deputizing for him. So obviously, Andy Williams automatically become the Minister of Infrastructure. How could you advance those simple, dotish reasons to absolve yourself from the accusation Jenny made? What I want to say to Andy Williams, his actions or lack thereof, from not going to the court and get a restraining order preventing Jenny Simon from publishing or continue to say not an allegation, not a rumor, not alleged, but to look at you in the eyes and say directly, you did this, and to identify exactly where the monies went. If you're not guilty, we have strong libel laws. You mean you have the best lawyer in the world and he cannot advise you to go to the court, get the restraining order, and serve Jenny, and force her to take down the libelous accusation against you from the media, and go to the police and file a complaint so they could intervene because the laws of Grenada, libel laws of Grenada, has been violated. My brother, there's so much to say, but I giving other people a chance to. But you and I have to set the agenda.
Yes, my brother.
We have to identify the issues.
Yeah.
And I want to say, age is not an issue in this campaign because we have a lot of young people in government. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Are you there?
I listen to you, man. Go right ahead.
Are you there?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Yes, we have young people in government. I saw a headline from a partner paper calling Jenny Simon an imposter. And when you look in that room, you had Andy Williams, you had Ron Redhead, and the other fella from Carrick.
Tevin Andrew, the one that cussing police.
A man who sold, and let me not say a man, Ron Redhead sold Rolanda McQueen vehicle, a vehicle that did not belong to him. That is grand larceny.
Yeah.
Deacon Mitchell came and he told the Grenadian people that Ron Redhead have to go back to school. But didn't Ron Redhead present himself to the people in the Northeast St. George as well-educated young people that will take Grenada forward? If that is not impersonation, tell me what is.
Like massively deceiving people.
The Prime Minister said he must go back to school. He went to SGU. And we don't give Jenny Simon the credit she deserves. She killed two birds with one stone. She turned around and she asked Ron, how is your studies going? And he whispered something about he working on his master's degree. What a great imposter. How could you work on your master's when they threw you out of the program, you don't have a bachelor's? And the paper had the audacity to look at two imposters in that press conference and turn around and call Jenny Simon an imposter. My brother, we have to advance that agenda.
Yes, Chief.
Because I think the issues now is lacking.
A lot of issues. Yeah.
We must keep our eyes on the prize. It's not about age. People now are having problems sending their children to school. We in crazy times. Have this government ever announced or informed the Grenadian people what they will be doing to offset the huge tariff that Donald Trump has imposed on the little export that we export to the United States? Have they sat with us and discussed
I guess
we would be affected?
You must be discussing it with Mudura first.
With remittances. The United States government has now imposed a 3.5% remittance tax on every dollar that a Grenadian have to send to Grenada. And not only that, the Grenadians have to prove their status. So those of our brothers and sisters who are living in the United States, and the papers is in a kind of way, they have to take cover.
Yeah, they can't send money.
All of that now will have a negative impact on the economy of Grenada. My brother, we have to tackle
Yes,
that.
my brother,
We
thank you
have to
very much.
continue the fight.
Thank you for that timely intervention. We have callers on the line. You can go right ahead, caller.
Hey, Mr. Pierre, how you doing, man?
Yes, my brother, go right ahead.
Mr. Baptiste, how you doing, brother?
Good man.
Yeah, and remember when the campaign started, NDC attacked NNP and called them a concrete government. Lo and behold, I'm surprised to see that NDC claiming that they are concrete government now. That it is so much of work. So they take the title from NNP as being a concrete
Concrete
government.
government.
But I think we have more serious issues to discuss. No, I give the last administration credit for buying back Grenlec, because I believe that Grenlec is a national security company. It's a company that can make or break Grenada. So having it in our hands, we are in control. We are in the driving seat. Since that happened, Grenlec have been left with low maintenance. Seems like the government don't care about Grenlec and the workers in Grenlec. Hence that Grenlec is lacking engines to run the plant. Currently, they're renting from Trinidad. So even though we own the company, we're still sending money in Trinidad every month for renting engines. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
So the simple math is that we're spending $7 million and give a company in America Project Polaris. We are wasting money, and William have a bust yesterday. And there are a number of areas where we're wasting money. We could simply go to the bank if we had the funds and secure a loan and buy 4 engines for the power plant. Now we plan to build a major hospital. If you have proper engines to power that hospital, how are we going to power it up? We have a hotel in Liverpool. We have one in St. David. And we have a number of houses being built every day that need power. So there is a market for more power. So it's kind of struggling to understand why our government will not move into that area, doing loans to buy some new engines for the plant. Now, the talk on the ground is that our government is moving towards renting a power ship to Dubai. So some investor along the way come up with a grand idea to rent us a ship. So the ship is going to park out on the sea and help to power up Grenlec. Whichever way, I don't know if you're going to use diesel fuel or going to solar, but to power up Grenlec. That's the new plan we come with. So we're renting from Trinidad, and we're going to rent from Dubai now. So you see, we are not really putting our mind in the right track. We are just playing top in mud. So when I hear this caller say that, and they say there's so much for Grenada, I'm wondering what is he talking about? Is it just grand ideas that Deacon is putting in their head? Like the major hospital, trucks go around and pick up the farmers' goods, and using Grenlec truck to go and pick the mangoes.
And the net for the seaweed.
Yeah, kind of grand ideas he have in his back of his mind, because to do a piece of road and come and say, post it on Facebook and say there's so much at work. You go to Peter Martin and you see most of the buildings the roof are off. You go to Carrico, same way. The government built some houses in St. Patrick's. Most of them are leaking. Yeah, most of them are leaking. So what's really the achievement? So much. And first time I've seen in my life that a minister had to make a bus tour to go and show people the same concrete work that the claiming.
They say too much concrete.
No, they're proving themselves them is concrete government. I mean, come on, bro. This is what you call. So people don't understand. He only hate things when they're not in office. When they're in office, they love it so much. Have a nice day, brother.
Yes, caller. We take one more call quick. And this one have to be quick because we almost on it. Anybody, we take a call, otherwise that is our final caller for the day because we have no call on the line, all right? Yes, I mean, I always hear, you have a caller? Yes, caller. Caller, you have to be quick. Punch. Go ahead, caller.
Hello. I want to find out if it's only NDC, you see, what paying taxes in Grenada, for them to say it's only NDC what have to get things.
Well, I mean, I think this one it's so sad and unfortunate. It's a shocker because they really, when we speak, perhaps they was trying to change, but Deacon remind them, don't change. Give NDC and don't give NNP. Yeah. So it's a fair question and it's a good point perhaps to our last caller. And just to say, I've heard NDC members always saying NNP spent 23 years in government. And I've listened to NNP supporters not addressing the 12 years that and more that NDC sent in power. Every time NDC go in power, the economy, like they're turning back the hand of the clock. I have always said NDC is like a disease, like an infection. You know, you had an infection, the doctor give you 12 tablets. He said take 12, one a day. But after you take 4, you believe you cure, so you didn't take it. So when you have a relapse of the disease, the doctor give you 25 tablets now. He said make sure you take it. Take 2 every day. But after you take about 10, you get good again. And every time it gets worse and it's more difficult to treat. We consider NDC as a vulture because that government always prey on the weak, the disadvantaged, the physically challenged, the people who walk on the road, the caregivers, the women of Karaku. They came in, I think, on the 22nd or the 23rd of June. And by the 5th of July, letters was going out and people were losing their job. The NDC was in power in 2008, 2013. They deceive and lie to the Imani. Tell them they're going to give them $1,000. They watch them in the eyes. They like this thing. Watch me in my eye. And they say, we love you as how we love our own children. We won't fire you. And 2 weeks after that, about 2 weeks after that, they fired the Imanis. They said in the campaign, we made a political mistake. This time we're going to make you permanent. And they fire some of them again. The NDC is like a disease. We have 100 house unit in Karaku. The keys were given to people. They take back the keys from the people it was given. They call the government criminal. And irrespective, we had a hurricane and people under tarpaulin still. The NDC is not giving them the houses in Karaku. What we're hearing is that they have it for the diaspora. The houses in Grenada, and I have a little friend, 59 years. They send her to the bank. The worker in the bank feel she heartbreak, she say, to watch the woman's face when she say you're not qualified for loan. And then you have Deacon studying to palpate that is what is around the Minister of Foreign Affairs neck and walking around with the sugar daddy. Now, what is it that the NDC do? So next time we come on the program, perhaps tomorrow, I would like the previous caller anything. Give me 5 things that the NDC has done that makes sense in the country, that is above board, particularly for people who needs government the most. Thank you very much for coming on the program, and we're back with you again between 12 and 1 tomorrow, God's will. Thank you.
Monday to Thursday, we're there. Real FM, ride the frequency. Talking truth, talking change, talking all that's real. With Pierre at the wheel. Politics to faith, the latest trend. We talk it out from end to end. And if you've got see.